Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Graylin. Good morning, Bob. David, Billy Ray's here. Awesome. Ooh, happy Monday. Okay. Futures are up a titch. Yes, kind of a flat opening. We'll see what happens here. Screens go live. Am I sad? I am, Graylin. I'm very sad. They're both back at school. Yep. Now it's just my wife and I and the dog again. Good morning, Lee. Hi, Sandy. Good evening. Yes, she starts today. My son doesn't start for even still a couple weeks yet, but right back in it. The quiet life, indeed. You know it. My wife's sad. I'm like, I'll miss him, but I'll sleep better. How about everybody else? We're just going to give it another minute or so to let the stragglers join us, and then we'll get started. How was your weekend? I got to tell you, I'm ready to trade more. I want to step up the activity. I'm ready for the next bounce to give us more. Yard work, oh, I'm behind on yard work. I'm behind on yard work. Of course, if you ask me any time from April 15th until, September 15th during yard work season, I would say the same thing. I'd be like, oh, I'm behind. It got away from me. In a state of perennially behind my yard work. All right, let's get cranking on this thing. This too shall pass. Yeah, I mean weeds look fine. They're greenish. Okay, and officially, happy Monday. Welcome out to the Market Watch Group weekly opening bell. My name is Scott, and I will be your host. All right, disclaimers as always. We're not advisors, we're not brokers, no advice, no recommendations. This is for education, illustrative purposes only. What are we going to do today? We're going to look at the opening futures and news. We're going to look at the economic calendar, review our posture, mindset for any open trades. I mean, you might have some stragglers, but we really haven't had a formal trade window recently where we had a pullback and a number of things setting up. So we've had basically one-off opportunities, and we're hoping to get a full set of a bullish window with a number of trade opportunities. Gray Lynn is there with me. She's ready to trade more. We'll talk about the opening range and the implications, early week opportunity list, and we'll talk about the trading plan section of the week. All right. All right. The previous owner was a landscaper with lots of... you know what's funny about that? We built our house 18 years ago now. And we're much more younger and ambitious with, we had a landscape architect draw it up, and we have planters and things, and we have all these planters. We never put anything in them. I'm actually getting ready to rip them all out of the back and just put grass in, because I'm like, it's such a nightmare. Landscaping. It's just so much work. All right, let's get into it. Let's see what's going on. Yes. Let's start with the futures. Futures, as Bob said, just veered a bit higher this morning. They were overnight down. Overall, still flat. You can actually see that the S&P's at 0.17 up, as is the Dow, and then the NASDAQ just dipped the other way. Barely. Not even 1%. What are we at here? Not even about 0.08%. Barely at all. And then the Russell is up almost 1%. And oil is up 3%. Man, that's a big jump. What's with oil up 3%? Did I miss something in the news today? Middle East concerns? Anything specific? AI's insatiable energy demand is going nuclear. Okay. U.S. stock futures diverge as investors weigh rate cut path. Yeah, with the money flowing into the Russell like this, we're definitely IDF bombing. Okay. All right. This feels bullish more than anything else when we see the money tracking back into small caps. That has significance for us. I don't know why my pages are unresponsive. Exit that one. Very interesting. Huh. All right. Was there anything else in the... Well, let's go to the economic calendar if I can. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. It's very odd. There we go. What's going on today? It's making me dizzy. Durable goods. I don't know how they came out, but they're expected to come out pretty strongly. Consumer confidence tomorrow. I don't think we're really worried about any minor Fed reports. We got what we wanted from Jerome on Friday. We've got jobless claims, GDP, we've got income, spending, and PCE. So I don't think we're going to see much till Friday. Okay. Oil prices surging as escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah over the weekend heightened. The war in Gaza Strip could disrupt regional oil supplies. All right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Let's go see the quick update on the Fed. We're now 3 weeks from Wednesday is the next one. 3 weeks from Wednesday Is this back up to date? So we're sitting right around 2-1. 2-1 in favor of a 25 basis point cut. 2-1 in favor of that. I think for us in this group, I think we've only had maybe one or two people talking about the potential for 50 basis points on this first one. It's just out of character for this Fed. So, all right. Let's go take a quick peek at the SPY futures before we open. Oh, did I just disconnect? What is it? Monday morning, come on. It says connected right now. It says connected and it's not giving me any charts. What is happening? Okay, my apologies. Looks like I'm going to have to restart my platform. I mean, you guys saw it. It was up and then it just stopped. Thinkorswim. It was up already. I'd been looking at prices this morning before we started. So, is it coming? I think it's coming. Oh, my computer is... There it is. Oh, right as I got impatient, it came up. All right, we'll give that just a minute. Oh, what is happening today? Okay. Got a second one coming now. That didn't help. So let's talk about the calendar then. PCE is the report that is most favored of the Fed, right? And so I think that's like the final. If the PCE drops more than expected, then I think the favorability towards a 50 basis point comes up. If it comes as is, right? If we get what we were expecting, I think we're definitely going to be looking at just the 25 that we've already talked about. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm not getting my updates here. It is very slow today. Did anybody else have an issue with Thinkorswim today? Mine came right up, Bob said. Okay. Man, it is a very slow update today. Just me. That's exciting. Clint has stalled as well. Okay, me and Clint. No problem. Yeah, it's very strange. We'll see if this thing comes up. Internet test. My internet's fast. At least I'm getting at least 100 Mbps's or whatever that is. I mean, I'm not on like Google internet speed, but retrying. Tell me if starting it over helped. It looks like it's trying to finish this process here, but yeah, Miguel, you're right. I probably should do an update and restart. Things are just a little clunky right now. Okay, so let's talk about the posture. If you didn't see it, didn't have a chance to watch, we're going to walk through this. I'll tell you what, this is a nightmare. Okay, just sitting. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm starting this process over at least, and see if it'll go. Hey, everything's a little off. What did we score the market at? So you can see that the overall score increased. I was thinking it would increase by a factor of 1. It was by 0.75. So pretty close. Not quite as strong as I thought. The long-term trend looks great. It's right back in its initial zone, its initial trend zone that we had. So it's fully recovered. Now, whether or not it's going to make it all the way back to like some level of new high, that remains to be seen. But as of now, at least, oh wait, I think we're there. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think I swim today. I'm very curious how much maintenance Schwab does. When you're not using it, make sure you do a hard stop, go to start, turn off using the mouse. This will ensure that all the updates take place. That's for Thinkorswim? You have to, or for your computer, you're saying? Any updates? Okay. Well, I appreciate the advice, everybody. My typical strategy for any technical problem is a reboot. I'm like, did you turn it off and turn it back on? And if that didn't work, it's outside of my abilities. Okay. Second point. Short-term trend. Yeah, everything is like wanting to stall on me right now. There we go. I was like, it was stalling out and freezing the computer. Here we go. Yeah, it's up, but it's slow, man. It is just like running a bit clunky. Let's detach this chart. Let's get it big, minimize, and 1, 2, 3, and we're in. Okay, so, oh yeah, look at that. We had just this little gap up. Okay, so let's just say, I'm going to turn it pink, that it looks just like this at the end of the day. And then tomorrow it opens right here and it does something like this. Today's pop quiz, name that candle. This should be a little wider. There we go. Like that. Anybody? It's one of my favorites. Now, of course, anything could happen. We're 5 minutes in. Doji. It is theoretically a doji, but the construct of the before and after is what's going to give this candlestick its name. So I have a little gap from this day to this day. Then I have another gap back down from this day to this day, leaving this little fella all alone. An abandoned baby. Sandy got it. It's an abandoned baby. She even spelled it correctly. It's not baby, it's baby. It's an abandoned baby. Okay. It's a fun pattern, I'm just saying. It is an interesting one, though. The just equivalent would be, some people will call that an island reversal, right? It's the island reversal where you leave that island kind of sitting by itself. Which basically is saying that the gap is what's failing, right? So right now it gapped up a little bit. Oftentimes indicates reversal indeed. Oftentimes the initial gap. It's funny because a lot of people put more stock into gaps than they should. There's 4 kinds of gaps. There's breakaway gaps that start a trend. There's runaway gaps that accelerate a trend. There's exhaustion gaps that end a trend. And then there's common gaps. Guess which one you see the most of? I don't know. Maybe common gaps? Yes. Ironically, common gaps show up a lot. What are the implications? Nothing. They're common, which makes gaps harder to assess. A foundation lesson on gaps. We could talk about gaps, actually. I put less stock into gaps than people are like, oh, gaps, the window's always closed and things. I don't know. But an abandoned baby is one that I do look for because of the fact that it's occurring where? We're kind of sitting at a resistance level in an overbought market with the stochastics that's starting to come down. So our thought process here is, which ones to ignore? Exactly, Sandy, right? We need to, that's probably the best way to look at it, is learning which gaps can we just be like, I don't think that this has any significant meaning to it. Let's finish talking about the posture for a second here. So short-term trend, we raised it 1/4 point. Volume stayed the same. It was close, but volume still more negative than not. You know what's funny? We didn't do a sanity check. Okay, so here's what's interesting is we were here to here. So overall, a slight upswing, and we scored at a minus 0.25. I'm actually okay with that, right? If this was reversed, if it was sloping down and I had scored at a 0.25, I'd probably be like 0. Just the fact that it was sloping down, that sanity check that's like, I don't know, I'm just having a hard time scoring in favor of buyers, only to watch price at a lower point. Anyways, that's just kind of a step back to look at yesterday. But when it's negative in favor of the sellers, I think it helps just, leave the caution there. I want to see it shed that. We know that as this gets rid of, we won't have anything but If there's nothing above average, we give it a 0.25. We give it a slightly positive score. So as this stuff falls off, now if we get one day of above average volume, just one day, that would be enough as well. So that's what we're looking for here for that part of our score to increase. All right. Let's go look at the watch list. Oh, no, we didn't finish this. What else did we do? Real quickly. Major market increased. Why? Because we saw exactly what we're seeing again this morning, and that is small caps continuing to move back into a position of favor. Okay. That's what we had flagged as saying if or for our score to increase, we need it to we need to see the small caps accelerate faster than large caps, and that's what we saw. Sector rotation is one where I'm like, oh, I feel like we've seen a lot of good movement. Nope. That was what I felt. I felt that. It was based on what I saw, but not based on an analysis, based on individual components. But when you put the analysis down, it didn't. I was surprised. Anyone else? I thought for sure sector rotation was going to move back into a favorable position. I was like convinced. That's what's interesting about this analysis. I've been doing it for 15, 20 years in this basic format. And there's still times where I think I know what's going to happen. And then I'm like, wow, nope, it's not there yet. Great. It seems to be coming. We haven't seen it yet. Now, Bob asked the question, why is my VIX highlighted? That's one where I was actually leaning, like I was back and forth between a quarter point and a half a point. So I flagged that for myself to be like, okay, remember you were thinking this might, because I might give it the half a point next time, even if it only gets a quarter point worth this week. But if I feel like, yeah, I think I should have given it that full half. That's why I flagged that. Well, I haven't done that for a while, and I'll turn it off next week. But I just wanted to highlight that for myself. Great question, Bob. So 4.25, a good jump, a good score. Still a couple of things that are just a little bit concerning, right? That either A, we'd like to see, I want to see good volume from buyers, or I want to move just a little farther past the bad volume from sellers. Either one of those will take that from a -0.25 to a 0 to a 0.25. That half of a point takes us up to a 4.25. A 4.75. If we get another piece of strength from the VIX and then also reassign that extra quarter point that I was hesitant on, that's another half a point. Now we're at a 5.25. 5.25, that's a good bullish market. Just those two things alone. Then you add a little bit more sector rotation stability. There's another half a point there. And we're at 5.75. We're at a nice, right? That's it. And I would expect that the short-term score goes a little higher too, maybe to 1.5, 1.75. And that's what it would take to get us into the sixes. So sometimes when we're just doing it in the real time, we don't think about, well, what would it look like? What's it going to take to get to a 6, this market? Not that much. That could happen in 2 weeks. We could be at a 6 in 2 weeks. And that would then be something I would expect to carry through the end of the year. The last time we got to a 6, it hit and stayed that way for quite a while, right? So if you notice back here, and it was the same thing. It was coming out of a negative time when we were down back there in November. We were down to a 1.25. Then we got back to a 3.25, then a 4, right? About the same thing that we're seeing now. Right now, we're kind of in this zone. And we're thinking to ourselves, boy, if we could get those last few things in place, which would look like this transition here, we get to a 6 by December 10th. And then it was all the way through until about April. right? December 10th. Let's get back to a year so you can kind of see why we like this. December 10th was back here. It same kind of a thing happened, right? So right around by this area, we were full-fledged. Now, we were bullish from back around November. Well, we were bullish the whole time, but we, even in this area here, we were bullish and seeing it increase. But there's a pretty good degree of correlation. But when we got that 6 market, it lasted from here to here. That's what we got. That's 4 months of really good trading. Those who were with me, I think you remember, that was probably our most active time as a group. Just trades were coming. So as we come out of this is what we're wondering and thinking is, are we going to move into, well, if I get to that 6, you can bet that's what I'm looking for, right? So this is when we moved into 6 territory, and now we're wondering, are we going to get there? Okay. Let's go to the watch list and go through it all real quickly. Apple. Apple's pausing. Great. Little pullback would be fantastic. I mean, if you look at your stochastics, you would have expected more than what you've gotten, right? What does that tell us about the sellers? They're not really there. It might kick up a little bit. We're not going to anticipate more than that. Some of them look more like this. That's not much still. That's very flaggish still. And our financials are open for business. They're a little pausing today for the most part, as our industrials. But these things turned. Caterpillar turned. CL looks a little overextended. I told you already, CMG, I'm going to be a little more patient. Costco waiting. Carvana's pulling back a little bit today. Kind of a mixed signal to start today. Look at the Dow, just popping to new highs. I think I can. Fastenal's grinding out. Miguel's riding it. GBTC. Bitcoin's kind of in a funky place. I'm not sure about that. Look at gold still holding up. General Motors. General Motors has almost completed a full deep V, which is even more impressive than a standard V. Google, I think Google is still viable. Anything in here that just like pulls back and turns, yeah, I'm thinking about it. Home Depot, overextended. There's your small caps. They're up a little bit today. JP Morgan continuing. Strength in financials, right? Which is interesting because a lot of times in an interest rate environment that's expected to decline, there becomes some concerns. Margins get thin for banks to make money, right? They make more money with higher rates. We just expect that there's more activity. So they have lower margins, more activity versus right now it's higher margins, less activity. Home builders are just paused up at this resistance level here. A little bit of a mini cup type pattern. Coca-Cola still going. McDonald's. Okay, so Meta's it feels like it's in more of an actual pullback, an actual consolidation. MMM, nope, still pushing higher. Scott completely misread. The slowdown in consumer staples. Microsoft. I like the way that Microsoft looks as well. Meta, Google, Apple, Amazon. Those are some big ones. I like all the financials, but they've already kind of started. I think some people already started getting into some of those. Micron looks good. Netflix flagging. Yeah, we're in about the same place we were. Today's market, we'll see if it holds up or if it sinks in the afternoon and then we get a couple of days of consolidation. Let's have a quick informal poll. We'll do it when we get to the SPY. Nvidia flat, PLTR on my list. All of these look good to me. They're all pulling back to new opportunities. The Qs. Okay, the SPY. So my thought is, and this would nullify the abandoned baby, of course. The abandoned baby is only if this sits here all day. But if by the end of the day this thing sinks back like this, well, obviously there's nothing there, right? Like the abandoned baby is above that. Okay. Let's go through the choices. That's A. You think it's going to finish bullishly. What the hell? What the hell is going on in my computer right now? Hold on. Let me go back. I got to start it over. It was like a weird blip. Did everyone else's TOS just do that? Okay. Miguel's did too. I'm like, what the... What the French toast is what I was going to say. What did you think I was going to say? That's A. It's going to be bullish. Okay? Just remember that. B. It's going to be the doji, just like it is now. Or I'm even going to give it a little extra shadow. Or C, sellers come in, push it back into yesterday's range. That's what I want to know today. A, B, C. Right? And that's going to dictate for each of you individually, what are you more likely to be doing right now? If you're more of an A, you're thinking, hey, I'm pushing some trades still. If you're more of a C, you're thinking, this thing's dialing back, right? Then what am I looking for next? I'm going to join the C's. We get to talk about this for bragging rights later tonight. Hopefully everyone can stop by, have just a little chat. Let's hang out. No pressure. But that starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. Love to see you. Bob, I hope I can stay away. I hear you, man. I hear you. Okay, so I've got a couple of A's, couple of C's. Nobody really thinks that it's gonna. It'll be interesting, right? We know that everyone's leaning towards a more accommodative Fed. We know that the PCE is their favorite. This is the last big, piece of inflation piece of inflationary data before the announcement comes out in 3 weeks. It's just a matter of, if we got like a good PCE report, I could definitely see the probability shifting towards a 50 basis point, and that would definitely cause a rally, right? Definitely cause a rally. Okay, let's get back to the list. TSM is on my list. Oh, TSM is like writing us a formal letter. Dear Market Watch Group, I hope this letter finds you well. I want to let you know that I am moving into a setup position as I write this in hopes that you will be ready to trade me when the trigger comes. Yours sincerely, TSM. I'm gonna RSVP, Sandy. I don't know about you, but I'm sending mine in. Yeah. Wrote a formal letter. You can't ignore that. Miguel's in. I'm in. It's a formal letter. What else do we need to look at today? UUP, dollar staying low. That just unencumbers us. The VIX. The VIX looks like it wants to move into that next lower high confirmation, which could just go on down and then give us the next one. Right? You're like, does it do that? Yes, that's what it does. Right? I mean, it may not get down. I have it going below 10. It may not do that, but it can just sit and stay low like this. Absolutely. Also, keep in mind, now that we're back down here, calendar spreads. We don't do them. Once it gets above here, you haven't heard me talk about them because they're not viable. But now they're viable again, which is a neutral trade that helps just bring ability to get trades on and get context in our favor. So, yeah, I think we've got some things setting up. As I said earlier, I'm expecting alerts to pop or triggers to pop and alerts to come. And we'll go from there. How interesting. I love when things like this happen, right? I just left these lines here. Even as we were below the second tier, and then all of a sudden it gaps up and it's right back where it's just trailing along this line like it never stopped, right? Just right back in favor. What are we looking for next? Okay, so what's the bottom line here? We still need to exercise patience and discipline, but it does definitely look like things are moving in our favor. As we start the market, it looks like I think we have our conditions assessed correctly. We'll see what this brings. Let's go look at the opening range now that it's set, and then we'll call it a day. Don't forget, we're working on trading rules this week. Oh, look at that. It's already dialing back a little bit. So we got that first candle, second, third, fourth. That's the range. We haven't broken the bottom of the range, but we're sitting right near the bottom of it. If it breaks this range, that's where we think the C price action comes into play. If it doesn't break the range, it could just sit and float around and still be in the Bs. If it breaks the top of the range up around 564, that's where I think we're more likely to get that A picture that we saw. So right now we're still a little uncertain, still waiting to see what way it goes. Okay, how does it feel? I think we're in a good place. I think we have a lot of candidates. No matter what, these things have already set up. So if all of a sudden the market starts moving, we have things that are going to be firing triggers. So it's just a matter of, do we think there's a little more consolidation, or is this going to be everything? Okay, look at that, right on time. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, be on the lookout for alerts. They'll come out via email. They'll come out on the channel because those are going to come this week. Come hang out later tonight. Have a chit chat. Would love to see everybody. Keep an eye on the markets. And as always, happy trading.